If you are over 60 and you feel weaker, softer, or more tired than you used to, even though you still eat eggs, yogurt, chicken, or fish, there is one possibility many people miss. You may not actually be getting enough protein for this stage of life. I'm Dr. Claire Bennett, and today I want to walk you through 5 hidden signs that your body may be asking for more protein, even if you believe your meals look perfectly reasonable. This matters because after 60, low protein does not always look dramatic at first. It often shows up quietly. You may not suddenly become very thin. You may not skip meals. You may still eat healthy, and yet your muscles may be shrinking. Your strength may be slipping, and your recovery may be getting slower. That happens in part because aging changes the way the body handles protein. Older adults often need more protein than younger adults to maintain muscle and physical function, and many experts suggest that healthy older adults may benefit from roughly 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, rather than simply aiming at the minimum adult RDA. Protein also seems to work best when it is spread across the day instead of saved for one large dinner. So if you are thinking, but I do eat protein, stay with me. Because the real question is not whether protein shows up on your plate once in a while. The real question is whether your body is getting enough of it, often enough, and in a form you can actually use. Let's go straight into the first hidden sign. Sign number 1, you are getting weaker in ordinary tasks, not just in the gym. This is one of the most common clues, and many older adults miss it because it does not begin as a dramatic loss of strength. It begins in everyday life. You notice that getting up from a low chair takes more effort. You pull on the stair rail more than you used to. A grocery bag feels heavier. You avoid kneeling because standing back up feels awkward. You open jars with more difficulty. You stop carrying laundry in one trip. You feel less steady when turning quickly. Many people blame this on just getting older, but very often what they are noticing is not age alone. They are noticing less muscle reserve. Muscle naturally changes with age, but inadequate protein can make that process worse. And when protein intake is too low, the body has less raw material to repair and maintain muscle tissue. Over time, that can show up as weaker legs, weaker grip, slower walking, more fatigue with effort, and less confidence in movement. Protein is not the only factor. Physical activity matters too, but it is a major one. Strength training and regular movement help signal the muscle to respond, while protein gives the body the building blocks to do the repair work. This is why I tell older patients not to judge protein intake by appetite alone. You can be eating enough to feel fed, but still not enough to properly support muscle. Here is a very typical example. Breakfast is toast and tea. Lunch is soup and crackers. Dinner is a normal plate with chicken. That may feel like a decent day of eating, but when we look closely, breakfast may have had only 2 or 3 grams of protein. Lunch may have had 6 or 8. Dinner may have carried most of the day, so the person says, but I had chicken. Yes, but the muscles had very little to work with for most of the day. And that matters because many older adults seem to respond better when protein is not all pushed into the evening. Several expert reviews suggest older adults may benefit from aiming for a meaningful amount of high-quality protein at each meal, often in the range of about 25 to 30 grams per meal, depending on body size and health status. So here's the practical question for sign number 1. Have ordinary movements become harder over the past year, even though your weight has not changed much and you still eat normally? If the answer is yes, low protein may be one piece of that puzzle. Sign number 2, you feel full quickly, but your body still seems underpowered. This one confuses people. They say, Dr. Claire, I'm not starving. I eat 3 times a day. I actually don't feel that hungry. And that is exactly why this sign gets missed. After 60, appetite can change in subtle ways. Taste and smell may become less sharp. Dental problems can make certain foods harder to chew. Some medications can reduce appetite or change the taste of food. Depression, loneliness, low activity, and some medical conditions can also make people eat less without realizing it. Older adults may need fewer calories overall, but they still need enough nutrients, and for some, that includes more protein, not less. So what happens? A person eats small, easy foods, maybe oatmeal, maybe toast, maybe applesauce, maybe a little soup, maybe mashed potatoes, maybe tea and a biscuit. Nothing looks obviously wrong, nothing feels extreme. But the day becomes low in protein almost by accident. Then the body starts sending mixed signals. You may feel tired by mid-morning. You may crave another snack soon after eating. You may feel shaky or washed out after errands. You may say, "I'm eating, but I just don't feel strong." You may nap more because meals are giving you calories, but not enough staying power. Now, I want to be careful here. Feeling tired or weak does not automatically mean low protein. It can also happen with poor sleep, dehydration, anemia, thyroid disease, heart problems, depression, medication effects, blood sugar swings, and many other issues. But when I hear an older adult say, "I'm eating enough, but I don't feel well fueled," I start looking at meal quality, not just meal quantity, because many people are eating soft, convenient foods that are easy to tolerate but light in protein. Here is another common pattern: breakfast, cereal with very little milk; lunch, tomato soup; snack, banana; dinner, a small piece of fish, or maybe not much because they are tired by evening. Technically, meals happened, but protein may still be too low for what the body needs. This is one reason NIA guidance encourages older adults to include protein-rich foods throughout the day, such as seafood, dairy, eggs, beans, peas, lentils, soy foods, lean meat, poultry, nuts, and seeds. So if you often feel full quickly, but still low in strength, low in stamina, or hungry again soon after carb-heavy meals, do not just ask, "Did I eat?" Ask, "What protein actually made it into that meal?" That question changes everything. Sign number 3. You are not necessarily losing weight, but your body is changing in the wrong places. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings I see. Many people think protein deficiency means looking obviously thin. Not always, especially after 60. You can keep the same body weight and still lose muscle. That means the scale may stay roughly stable, while your body composition quietly shifts. Your thighs may look smaller. Your arms may feel softer. Your shoulders may seem flatter. Your clothes may fit differently around the waist, even though your legs are weaker. You may say, "I don't understand it. I haven't lost much weight, but I don't feel sturdy anymore." That is because body weight and muscle quality are not the same thing. Aging itself is associated with muscle loss, and reduced activity can accelerate it. Low protein intake can make it harder to preserve lean mass. In older adults, muscle mass and function matter because they affect mobility, balance, independence, and even long-term health. Some NIA-supported research has emphasized that maintaining muscle mass and function helps older adults stay active and independent for longer. This is where many well-meaning older adults get tricked by healthy eating. They cut back portions to avoid weight gain. They eat more toast, fruit, salad, soup, and crackers. They reduce meat because chewing is harder. They skip yogurt because they are not hungry. They have a light lunch and then are too tired to eat much protein at dinner. So yes, they may avoid overeating, but they also slowly underfeed their muscles. I want to give you a very real-life picture of this. Imagine a woman in her 70s. Her weight is only down by 2 pounds over the year, so nobody worries. But she now uses both hands to rise from a chair. She no longer lifts the vacuum upstairs. Her walking speed is slower. Her upper arms look smaller in photographs. She tells me, "I feel like I melted." That is often how older adults describe muscle loss. Not, "I lost weight," but "I softened. I shrank. I became less solid." If that sounds familiar, please pay attention. because waiting for dramatic weight loss means you may miss the problem early, and early is when nutrition changes can help the most. Sign number 4, little health setbacks seem to take longer to recover from. Now we move beyond strength. Protein is not only about muscle, it also helps support tissue repair, immune function, and healing. When overall nutrition is poor, signs can include fatigue, weakness, frequent infections, or slower healing, brittle hair and nails, and swelling in the legs or feet. Protein deficiency is not the only reason these things happen, but it is one possible contributor, especially when intake has been low for a while. Here is what this can look like in everyday life. A small skin tear takes longer than expected to settle. You bruise easily and stay marked for days. A cold seems to flatten you for longer than it used to. After a dental procedure or minor illness, it takes more out of you. You feel like your body is slower to rebuild. Again, I want to be medically responsible here. Slow healing can also happen with diabetes, circulation problems, certain medications, zinc deficiency, vitamin C deficiency, skin fragility, infection, and many other medical issues. So do not assume protein is the only cause. But if slower recovery is happening alongside weakness, lower appetite, smaller portions, and a protein-light eating pattern, then inadequate protein deserves a serious look. This is especially important after illness. Older adults often lose appetite when they are sick, but that is exactly when the body may need more support to preserve muscle and recover function. A few days of reduced intake can have a bigger effect in an older adult than people realize, especially if that person was already borderline on protein. Expert guidance for older adults with illness often points to higher protein needs than those for younger, healthy adults. So if you find yourself saying, ever since that cold, that hospital stay, that stomach bug, that dental issue, I have never quite bounced back, please do not only think about age, think about recovery nutrition, because many older adults try to eat lightly when what their body really needs is steady nourishment. Before I move on, I want to underline something important. A low protein pattern does not always come from neglect. Sometimes it comes from good intentions. Older adults are often told to watch cholesterol, sodium, blood sugar, weight, reflux, kidney health, digestion, budget, and appetite all at the same time. So they slowly build meals around what feels safest and easiest. Toast, cereal, soup, crackers, fruit, tea, and a small dinner. The meals may be gentle, familiar, and inexpensive, but over time, they can become too light in protein for aging muscle. That is why this conversation has to be practical, not judgmental. No one improves from being shamed. People improve when the problem finally makes sense. Let me give you another example. A man tells me he eats plenty. In reality, breakfast is coffee and toast. Lunch is half a sandwich. Dinner is meat with potatoes. He is not starving. He is not intentionally dieting. But by the time evening arrives, he has already spent most of the day with very little protein coming in. That is the hidden pattern. And once it becomes a habit, people begin to normalize the result. They say, I just don't have the legs I used to. Or, I guess I'm becoming fragile. Sometimes that is partly true, but sometimes the body is simply undersupplied. There is another clue I want you to watch for. If you exercise a little, even just walking more, doing chair exercises, or using light resistance bands, do you feel like your body never quite responds? You start with good intentions. You move more for 2 or 3 weeks, but instead of feeling stronger, you feel drained, sore for too long, or discouraged. Again, that can happen for many reasons. But one reason is that the muscles are being asked to do more without enough nutritional support. Protein is not magic, but it is necessary. Without enough of it, the body has a harder time rebuilding what activity is trying to stimulate. That is one reason expert groups continue to pair protein guidance with resistance exercise and general activity in older adults. There is also the issue of healthy foods that are not very protein dense. I am not telling you to stop eating oatmeal, vegetables, fruit, or soup. Those foods can absolutely belong in a healthy diet. I am saying this: if a meal is mostly grains, fruit, or vegetables, then something has to be added if you want that meal to support muscle well. For example, oatmeal plus Greek yogurt works better than plain oatmeal. Soup plus beans works better than broth alone. Toast plus eggs works better than toast by itself. Salad plus salmon or tofu works better than salad alone. That is the shift many older adults need. Not a completely different diet, just a more intentional one. And now there is one more hidden sign that often sits in the background of all 5 signs. Your protein may look fine on good days, but it falls apart on tired days. This matters a lot after 60, because tired days happen often. Doctor appointments, poor sleep, joint pain, bad weather, low mood, cooking fatigue. A spouse who no longer eats much, living alone, and not wanting to cook for one person. On those days, many older adults do not prepare fish, chicken, lentils, eggs, or yogurt bowls. They nibble tea and toast, a muffin, crackers, a banana, a little soup. Then they promise themselves they will eat better tomorrow. But if tomorrow looks similar, the low protein pattern becomes the normal pattern. That is why I encourage older adults to have what I call easy protein backups, things that require almost no effort: eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, string cheese, milk or fortified soy milk, tuna packets, canned salmon, rotisserie chicken, ready-to-eat lentil soup, edamame, higher protein puddings, or medical nutrition drinks when appropriate. You do not need to prepare a perfect meal every time. Sometimes you just need a reliable fallback, so a tired day does not become a nutrition loss day. Now, let's talk briefly about how older adults accidentally overestimate protein. This happens in 4 very common ways. First, they count foods as protein-rich simply because they contain some protein. Oatmeal has some, bread has some, peanut butter has some. But some is not always enough to make the meal protein strong. Second, they remember the main dish, but not the total day. They remember the salmon at dinner and forget the nearly protein-free breakfast and lunch. Third, they judge by fullness. But fullness is not the same as protein adequacy. A muffin can make you feel full, so can mashed potatoes. That does not mean the meal gave your muscles much support. Fourth, they judge by habit. If they have always eaten a certain way, they assume it still fits the body they have now. But after 60, the body often becomes less forgiving. This is why I sometimes ask older adults a very simple question: what did your muscles get for breakfast? That question usually makes people pause, because deep down, many already know the answer. Sign number 5, most of your protein is happening at dinner, and you are overestimating how much you get earlier in the day. This may be the most hidden sign of all, because it lives in your routine, and it is the sign I see most often. The person genuinely believes they eat enough protein. They say, I have eggs sometimes. I eat peanut butter. I eat yogurt. I had soup with chicken. I don't skip meals. But when we count it honestly, the day is surprisingly low. Let me show you how this happens. A slice of toast with peanut butter is not the same as a high-protein breakfast. A small yogurt is not always enough to carry a meal. A bowl of vegetable soup may be comforting, but unless it includes beans, lentils, chicken, turkey, tofu, or something similar, it may not offer much protein. Oatmeal is healthy, but plain oatmeal is not a protein-rich meal. A salad can be excellent, but if it is mostly greens and dressing, it will not do much for muscle. Then dinner arrives. Chicken, fish, beef, or eggs finally appear, and people assume that because dinner contained protein, the whole day was covered. But the body does not work that way. What matters is not simply whether you touched a protein food once. What matters is your total intake across the day, your meal pattern, and whether each meal gives your muscles a meaningful signal. This is why I often suggest a simple test. For 3 days, do not change anything. Just write down your protein sources honestly, not calories, not healthy foods, not portions you wish you had eaten. Only the actual protein foods and roughly how much. Then ask, did breakfast contain a real protein source? Did lunch? Was dinner doing all the work? Was I relying on carbohydrates for comfort and convenience? Was chewing, appetite, cost, loneliness, or cooking fatigue getting in the way? Many older adults are surprised by the answer. One more safety point before we finish. Do not turn this into an extreme, high-protein challenge. More is not always better. Better is better. The goal is not to overload the kidneys, ignore medical conditions, or force large meals when swallowing. Digestion or appetite are a problem. The goal is to find the right amount for your body and your health conditions, and to spread it in a way that your day can actually sustain. For some people, that means adding 1 egg and a cup of Greek yogurt. For others, it means a formal nutrition review with a clinician or dietitian. For someone with kidney disease, liver disease, cancer treatment, or recent hospitalization, it may need to be much more individualized. And here is something else that matters. Protein needs are not one size fits all. A smaller, sedentary older adult may need less than a larger, more active one. Someone recovering from illness, doing resistance exercise, or losing muscle may need more. Someone with chronic kidney disease may need a more individualized plan. And people with advanced kidney disease who are not on dialysis often should not simply increase protein on their own. On the other hand, some people on dialysis are advised to eat more protein. So I do not want you leaving this video thinking, I need to copy somebody else's number exactly. I want you leaving this video thinking, I need to stop guessing, because guessing is where hidden low protein often lives. Now let me give you the practical part. What should you do if several of these signs sound familiar? First, do not panic. This is often a fixable problem, or at least an improvable one. Second, do not jump straight to giant protein shakes unless chewing, appetite, or illness makes that necessary. Food first is often the simplest place to start. Here is a safe, practical approach. At breakfast, add a real protein anchor. That could be eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, skyr, milk with higher protein cereal choices, a protein-fortified oatmeal, tofu scramble, a smoothie with yogurt or milk and added protein if needed. At lunch, stop accepting light as automatically adequate. A sandwich can work if there is enough turkey, chicken, tuna, egg, cheese, or hummus with another protein source. Soup can work if it includes beans, lentils, shredded chicken, or dairy on the side. Even a small meal can work better if protein is deliberate. At dinner, keep the protein, but do not rely on dinner alone. And if appetite is low, smaller protein-containing meals may work better than forcing one large plate. Some older adults also do well with a protein-rich snack. Greek yogurt, milk, cottage cheese, edamame, a boiled egg, cheese with whole grain crackers, or a medically appropriate supplement if recommended by their clinician. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to make protein visible in your day, not accidental, not assumed, visible. I also want to say one more thing that matters a great deal. Protein works best as part of a bigger picture. If you raise protein but never move your muscles, results may be limited. If you walk, climb stairs, do chair stands, use resistance bands, or do supervised strength work, the body has a better reason to hold on to muscle. NIA notes that muscle strengthening activity helps older adults maintain muscle mass, improve mobility, and support independence. So the pairing is powerful: enough protein plus regular movement plus treatment of whatever else may be reducing appetite or absorption. And that brings me to the medical red flags. Please speak with your doctor, dietitian, or pharmacist sooner rather than later if you have any of these: unexplained weight loss, trouble chewing or swallowing, persistent nausea, chronic diarrhea, new swelling in the legs, major fatigue, frequent falls, rapid muscle loss, poor wound healing, or a sudden drop in appetite. Those are not things to brush off. They may reflect low protein intake, but they may also point to kidney disease, thyroid problems, depression, medication side effects, malabsorption, infection, heart failure, cancer, or other conditions that need direct attention. Guidelines for older adults also emphasize routine screening for malnutrition risk because it is common and often missed. So let me leave you with this. If you are over 60, the earliest signs of low protein may not be dramatic. They may look like a weaker grip, harder stairs, quicker fatigue, slower recovery, a softer body, a smaller appetite, or a day full of meals that never truly deliver enough protein. And that is why this topic matters so much. Because you can look like you are eating normally and still be slowly underfeeding the parts of the body that keep you strong, steady, and independent. If today's video sounded uncomfortably familiar, do not take it as a reason to be afraid. Take it as a reason to look more closely, count more honestly, spread protein more wisely, protect your muscles earlier, and get help if the signs are adding up. Your body after 60 does not only need less food, very often it needs smarter food, and protein is one of the places where that difference becomes very important.